My dear brothers, enforced the Shahada of Syeda Zainab was maybe almost 10 days ago. However, we are blessed. We have so many bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, right? But one of the most special and greatest bounties is that we have Syeda Zainab alayhi salam in our life. Syeda Zainab alayhi salam, when we talk about her, we're not talking about something that left and was back 1,400 years ago. We're talking about Syeda Zainab alayhi salam being alive right now, alive, inspiring us in every day of our life. My dear friends, when you feel down, and we all feel down sometimes, the ups and downs, when you feel down, you look to Syeda Zainab alayhi salam and she uplifts you. When you feel depressed, and we all go through these feelings, right? You look to Syeda Zainab alayhi salam and she is the best antidepressant. When you feel an anxiety, you look to Syeda Zainab alayhi salam and she brings such soothness and smoothness to your heart and brings tranquility. When you feel that all is lost, you look to Syeda Zainab alayhi salam and you find hope, and you find that there is a brighter day out there, and that not everything is lost. When you see everything is so black and sad, you look to Syeda Zainab alayhi salam, and she brings so much light and enlightenment in your world right now. So Syeda Zainab alayhi salam is one of the greatest bounties that we have for both men and women, that inspires us every single day. There's so much to learn from her. But one thing that we can connect to our present day in these tough times that we are going through, especially those Shi'at Amir al-Mu'mineen who are in the forefront of resisting the Yazids of their time, the Ubaydillah ibn Ziyads of their time, the Shimmers of their time right now. They look to Syeda Zainab alayhi salam, and in particular, one of her attributes, which we saw very clear after Ashura, was her ability to speak truth in the face of power and in the face of tyranny and the taghut of her time. And we all find inspiration from her speeches in the courts of these tyrants of her time. But think about this. These words that we hear from the minbar, and that I will be reminding myself and you all from some of these words of inspiration, these words are coming from a person who has just witnessed the most brutal wiping out and genocide of her family, of her brother, half-brother, of her children, of the companions of her brother, and the message of her grandfather, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, by Muslims. She just has witnessed that. She's experiencing at the same time her taken in bondage along with the women of the Ahlul Bayt salamullahi ta'ala alayhim as slaves and being dragged from town to town. And she's entering into the town or the city of her father, who just recently, she was in the same city as the princess, as the daughter of the Khalifa of Islam. Honored, dignified. But subhanAllah, how the world treats us. One day you're up, and the other day you're down. One day you're dignified, and the other day you may be taken as prisoner. And who? This is Syeda Zainab alayhi salam, not you and I. Not our women. This is the women of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So she witnesses the events of Ashura. She's experiencing the captivity and the torture and the bondage. Imagine that. And they take her in that humiliated way in the courts of Ibn Ziyad. La'natullahi ta'ala alayh. You would think that this woman would be broken. Imagine you and I who have witnessed such trauma. How can you even speak? We go through agony and we go through tribulations, and you find yourself not even able to say anything, not even able to uplift your head. But you see her standing firm, speaking truth to power in the face of the most brutal of regimes, the most vicious of people, the ones who just killed Imam Hussein alayhi salam and basically genocided the children of Ali and the children of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The most vicious of people. You're not going to find more vicious than that, more cruel than that. However, she was able to gather some strength in order to face those vicious, bloodthirsty tyrants, these deputies of the shaitan. And she tells them just some excerpts that we can take inspiration for our life today. And she tells him, Alhamdulillah alladhi akramana bi nabiyyih. Alhamdulillah, who honored us with his prophet. وَطَهَّرَنَا مِنَ الرِّجْسِ تَطْهِيرًا, and who has purified us from uncleanliness. Reminding those who are in the court of Ibn Ziyad in Kufa that they are the pure ones. And then that they are honored by the Prophet, who they supposedly are following, who they supposedly are ruling in his name, and who supposedly they hijacked his message and supposedly killed Imam al-Hussein with the hujjah that Imam al-Hussein is going astray and actually is going against the message of the Prophet. Imagine that. And so she tells them, إنما يفتضح الفاسق ويكذب الفاجر وهو غيرنا يا ابن مرجانا. She tells him, it is only the lewd who is unmasked, who is basically revealed, exposed. And it's only the dissolute who has been belied, that they have been exposed. Those people, through what they have done, their true nature has been exposed to the Ummah of Islam after what they have committed. My dear friends, we can go on and make the connections to our current day, but I'm going to leave you and your critical thinking to ponder the parallels that we can make between what Syeda Zainab alayhi salam and facing the tyrants of her time, the vicious taghutis of her time, and the truth of today vis-a-vis the tyrants of today. And how they are exposed today through their af'al, through their crimes. And she tells him, Yabna Marjana. Every word she's saying is specific, is deliberate. After all, she is the daughter of the person who is the epitome of fasaha and balagha, none other than Imam Ali alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And so when she tells him to his face, Yabna Marjana, she's reminding him and reminding those deputies around him and the people, the so-called people of Kufa, who had sent messages to Imam al-Hussein, but out of weakness and out of the hubb al-dunya, now they have closed and shut their mouth and allowed the brutal genociding of the holy household just miles away in Karbala, and did not do nusra to the holy household. She's reminding and telling the Taghut in his face, Yabna Marjana, you, the son of the haram, that we don't know we don't know who your asl is. She has that bravery and that courage after having experienced all that trauma and the unbelievable events. And remember, she's taken in bondage with all the women in the household and the children, and the only surviving male from the sons of Ali, Imam Zain al-Abidin, the Imam of her time, in bondage, while also the heads of the shuhada are put on a spear. Yani, the trauma and the torture is continuous, and she enters the court in that way, and she's able to gather that strength and fortitude. Sayyidah Zainab, how are you able to do that? And remember, my dear friends, Sayyidah Zainab, technically, if you want to look at the technicality of things, she's not ma'soom, right? She's not one of the ma'soomeen. She is not protected, by some order or decree. She's not programmed in some way. She has attained that ability because of her own attributes and her own faith and her own sabr and strength. And so then she tells, in the face of that tyrant, one of the most resounding statements that really bewilders everybody. But it's something that inspires us every single day in the face of trauma, in the face of disaster. When she tells him and she responds to him after he goes on his diatribe and says, look what God did to you and so on, and now you're defeated. And she responds and she says what? She tells him, مَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. Imagine that. She tells him, all that I see is nothing but beauty, jamal, beauty. What? Yani, after all this devastation, and the heads are on the spears, and almost every single of these heroes of Al Muhammad are killed, mutilated, and their heads put on the spear, and the Imam of the time, Imam al-Hussein, is no more, and there's only one surviving member, Imam Zain al-Abidin, and the captives of the women of the household, the tents on fire, and you would think that it's nothing but defeat and bloodshed and everything is down. Weakness, devastation, genocide. But how is she describing that scene? She says, I see nothing but beauty. That's a statement that shoots to the rest of time. That don't let the picture where there's people who are killed, houses that are destroyed, leaders, true leaders and heroes that are slain in battle. Don't let that put you down. That's not the measure stick of beauty or of triumph and victory. Sayyidah Zainab tells us, and she tells it to the tyrant of her time, I see nothing but beauty. Why? Because she continues and says, هؤلاء قوم كتب الله عليهم القتل فبرزوا إلى مضاجعهم وسيجمع الله بينك وبينهم فتحاج وتخاصم فانظر لمن الفلح يومئذ ثكلتك أمك يا ابن مرجانة. Again, she says, I see nothing but beauty. Those were people whom Allah knew that you would be killed. Those people in Karbala, they knew what their destiny was. They went towards that death because they knew that's what's going to get them to their abode, to their fate that's in the hereafter, in Jannatul Firdaus. And so they knew they were just following their fate. They were going to where they were supposed to. And on the day of judgment, Allah will gather you, O tyrants, in all the times, O tyrants of this time, all these taghutis, all these criminals. There will be a day Allah will gather them with those that they have oppressed, those that they have killed, who they think they have triumphed. Right? We have eliminated these people, eliminated these heroes. Allah, Sayyidah Zainab is telling Ibn Murjana, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, that there will be a time that you both will be, the judgment day is coming very soon, and you will be put in front of those people, and on that day, who's going to triumph? Who is the true triumphant at that day? Again, reminding him, Yabna Murjana. Reminding people and him who you are. Don't think your power and you're sitting in the palace of Kufa thinking you're triumphant, that we're going to forget exactly the nature of your character, who you came from, your batil, your falsehood. You're nothing but filth. And she's reminding him that, time and time again about where he's come from. And then she goes on and she tells him, لعمري لقد قتلت كهلي وقطعت فرعي واشتثثت أصلي فإن كان هذا شفاؤك فقد اشتفيت. I swear by my life, you have killed my protectors. Yes, she bears witness on what he has done. There's no doubt that she's not being in denial on what he has committed. He has committed the most atrocious of crimes. And she's repeating it, and she's describing the pain he has caused to her. There's no doubt about that. You have killed my protectors, plucked out my branches, and uprooted my roots. So if this heals your heart, okay. If that makes you temporarily happy, then be it. And she goes on and showing nothing but strength and speaking truth in the face of falsehood. Speaking truth to power. SubhanAllah, in this morning, I don't know if some of you have seen or you connected to Syeda Zainab alayhi salam, you see those who have been inspired by Syeda Zainab alayhi salam. Today, after 60 days of the ceasefire between Lebanon and the entity, the occupying entity. The ceasefire, the 60 days terminated. But the tyrants of the time, they refused to pull out, breaking their pledge as usual. What ended up happening was the people who belonged to these towns and villages, they went with their bare bodies. And I saw images today of women, Zainabiyat, wearing their chador, walking towards the nozzle of the Merkava tanks and talking to those tyrants, talking to those occupying soldiers. And what do those soldiers do? Either they retreat or they shoot at these women. And we have almost 30 plus martyrs today, many of them women. Women who have been inspired by Syeda Zainab alayhi salam. And that's why Syeda Zainab alayhi salam is alive. We're not talking about something that has left. Her stance, her example is alive in each and every one of us who love her and honor her and use her as an example. However, if we disconnect and make a barrier between us and Syeda Zainab alayhi salam, what do I mean? I mean just putting a box around Syeda Zainab and basically making her just a fable. A thing that we talk about, a story that we teach our kids before they go to sleep, and that's it. Somebody that we cry over and honor, but that's it. We put a barrier between her time and our time. Her example, we just relegated to something that related to Yazid and Ibn Ziyad and Shimr and the particulars of the 1400 years ago. No, my dear friends, what she did when she says "Ma ra'aytu illa jamila," and when she talks truth to power, it's for every time to inspire us to always stand firm in an unwavering, strong way, no matter what the odds are. And true indeed, the women that I saw today, they're not Masumeen, but they were Zainabiyat. They were inspired by her. They went to the Merkava tanks in front of that nozzle. And as a result of the 30 plus martyrs, civilians today, these soldiers, they withdrew from many of the villages. They were not planning on that last night. They were not planning, they were going to stay. But what made them withdraw were these civilians who went with because what are they going to do? Keep on shooting civilians? They had to withdraw. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And so we see Syeda Zainab alayhi salam and the caravan of pride leaving Kufa in Iraq and going from town to town, from village to village, from desert plain to desert plain, through Iraq, through Aleppo, Halab, all around and into Damascus for weeks and weeks, in the heat being paraded. in front of the people. Imagine this caravan where you have the beginning of that caravan, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, with one chain. That chain is connected through Syeda Zainab and all the women and all the children up until the end. While they're watching the heads of the martyrs, these beloved, the best of people, their heads on the spear. Trauma that doesn't go away, in your face, while they're being tortured through the climate and people making fun of them and throwing things at them. And they enter in the courts of Yazid. Yazid is all triumphant. He thinks he has accomplished everything he has accomplished. He eliminated the opposition, right? He eliminated the resistance. He killed Imam Hussein. He killed Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He killed Ali al-Akbar. He killed Zuhair. He killed all these great people that threatened his regime, right? He eliminated them. That's what he wanted. So he's gloating. He's all happy. And they enter into his courts. Imagine you and I enter into the court after having experienced all this. Could you even put your head high? All the people are making fun of you in the streets and throwing at you things and cursing you. And your beloved, their head is on the spear. Yani we can't even bear our loved one that they pass away. They're covered in khalas. We put them in the ground and we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to face the trauma, right? And Syeda Zainab has been facing that trauma every single day, and now she enters in the court of Yazid. And how is she able to do this? How is she able to stand up and say the things that we hear on the minbar al-Husayni every year? Things where she praises Allah, the Lord of the worlds, and she starts reciting verses from the Quran where she says, then the end of those who committed evil was that they disbelieved in God's signs and they were ridiculing them. Saying basically, that's what you're doing. You're ridiculing the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you, Yazid, think that when you blocked all the avenues of the earth and the horizons of the heavens before us, so we were driven as captives, that we are worthless in the sight of God? And that you're respectful in His eyes? She's telling him, you think that by putting us under that hisar, that surrounding us, complete, no ability to exit, no ability to go anywhere, no freedom, that because you did that, you've sanctioned us economically, physically, you've sanctioned us, that you've killed our people, and that now we're captives, that because of that, we're worthless, we have no value in the sight of Allah, or are disrespected in the sight of Allah? She's like, or is it because you enjoy with Him a great status? You think that you could fool yourself, but do you have a great status with God? So you look down at us and you become arrogant, elated when you see the world submissive to you? Yeah, now everything is submissive. You accomplished your deed. You've eliminated the opposition. You killed Imam Hussein, and things are done as you want them. Everything you wanted to be done. You sent that butcher to Al-Kufa. You killed Muslim ibn Aqil. You got Basra. You got Kufa. The whole Muslim ummah now. No one is able to resist you. That you've accomplished all your objectives. That they're done as you want. And when our authority and power became all yours, all the power and authority is now all yours. Taken from us, taken from the Ahlul Bayt, from the true authority. You think that because you did that somehow that's reality? Reminding him the fleeting nature of his so-called victory. Because she reminded him that in the eyes of Allah, that's not victory. The victory he's gloating over something very temporary. It's a facade, mirage. The true victory is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why, because she has the basira that many of us don't have, and think that, what happened in Ashura, all the bodies mutilated, Imam Hussein defeated, killed. that this is a defeat, but she sees it as a victory because she has the big picture, because she has basira. And now 1400 years later, who's the truly victorious? Yazid? Where is Yazid? Where's Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad? Where even is their dominion, their power? Where is even their body? Who even cares about them, visits them, and the legacy that they left? They're the most despicable of people, the most cursed of people. But where is Syeda Zainab? Where is Imam Hussein? They represent the truth, and the truth never dies. That resistance against dhulm, against oppression, against the taghuts, from the time of Adam, since human beings were on the earth until the day of judgment, that struggle between truth and falsehood is ongoing. And so we always have to look for the tyrants of the time, the taghuts of the time. Where are they? Who are they? And at the same time, where are the Husseins of our time? Where are the Ali Akbars of our time, the Abbasis of our time? Maybe they're not Masumeen, but there are people in our time who represent the truth and standing against falsehood. And so where we are in that struggle. So we look to Syeda Zainab alayhi salam to always inspire us in that continuous battle that's every day ongoing right now. To see, so long as the spirit of resistance is ongoing, so long as these taghuts have not accomplished their mission to extinguish the light of Allah. Even if it's just Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam who's surviving, and Syeda Zainab alayhi salam. The only one that can defeat us is us ourselves. When you feel that you're defeated and you put the white flag, I'm not going to resist anymore, I can't do it, that's when you're truly defeated. But Syeda Zainab alayhi salam, no. She went and she stood high, facing Yazids, the Yazids of her time and the Yazids of our time, and trying to bring the basira in the court of Yazid, which they've been brainwashed and they think that this is, Yazid is all victorious, he's accomplished his deed, and these are rebels, and look at their women. And look, in a matter of days, she was able to flip the image and the message in the sense of the propaganda that Yazid was trying to propagate among the people, to the point that by the end of those couple of days, what ended up happening? Yazid was like, it's not me. I'm not the one who killed Hussein. It's Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad who did it. I didn't tell him to do it. I just told him to, take care of things or whatever. But it's him. It's not me. Khalas, go. I honor the children and the women of the Prophet. You guys can go. We'll protect you. Go ahead and leave. It wasn't me. I'm actually very sad about this. He flipped. He can fool the people, in his time, but he can't fool Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And unfortunately, by that stance, he has fooled some Muslims until today who think, Yazid was innocent. He was very upset when this happened. But why did he change or flip the message like that? Because Syeda Zainab and Imam Zain al-Abidin stood in the court and spoke truth to power. Spoke with the words of the Prophet, spoke with the words of Imam Ali. They didn't put their head down. They didn't hide. Because their responsibility at that time was not to stay quiet. And because of that legacy, we're here today, my dear friends. These majalis, to speak and honor the Ahlul Bayt, all around the year, around the clock, everywhere. Where's this legacy coming from? Syeda Zainab alayhi salam. That woman who wasn't a masoom, but she stepped up to the plate when time came and it needed that she would take responsibility. Even though she's a female, especially in that time, she still went and took responsibility. And what an amazing feat she was able to accomplish. And she tells them, another excerpt, but wait, have you forgotten what Allah said? And she reminds him Reminds Yazid of the ayah, do not regard those who disbelieve that we grant them good for themselves. We only give them a respite so that they may increase in their sins. And for them there is a humiliating torment. He's reminding Yazid of the verses of the Quran that came to her grandfather, the father who's supposed to be the father of the Ummah, reminding him that don't think because you've accomplished that deed and you've killed and suppressed and that Allah's leaving you, that the punishment of God didn't come down right away, that this is because that's the equation. You cannot look at it in that way. Because actually, the reason why you're left is something because Allah does it so that you will commit more bad deeds, so that when Allah takes you in the day of judgment, you will be punished in the worst of the way. You're building more evidence to prove how despicable and how tyrannical and how evil you are. So Allah leaves you. That's a message to us. It's an ayah in the Quran, but Syeda Zainab brought it to life in the face of the tyrants. Can we do that in the face of a tyrant? Tell him this verse that Allah gives time to the tyrants because they're going to be punished way more because they're proving how bad they are. And indeed, you see exactly that's what happened. Yazid's rule, few more years, and look what happened to him in the garbage of history. What happened to the Umayyads a few years after that? Where are they right now? Right? Where is their legacy? صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. And then she tells him, and I'll end with this. Is it fair, O son of the released ones? Wow, Syeda Zainab, she's telling you, just like she told Ibn Ziyad Yabna Marjana, and reminding him where he came from, where his roots are, where his asl is. She's telling Yazid, the Khalifa, who just committed that brutality and that genocide against the Ahlul Bayt. She's telling him, Yabna Tulaqa, reminding him that Rasulullah could have killed and punished your grandparent, your father and your grandparent, Muawiyah and Abu Sufyan. But he let them go. He forgave them and pardoned them. He let them go. Yabna Tulaqa, that you keep. Is it fair that you keep your ladies and bond maidens in their chambers under protection, and at the same time you drive the daughters of the Messenger of Allah as captives, with them exposed and faces unveiled, taken from one land to another by their enemies, being seen by those at the watering places as well as the men stationed at your forts, their faces exposed to be eyed by everyone, near or distant, lowly or honorable, when none of their men are with them, nor any of their protectors. This is a message to the court and the Muslims who are watching. The daughters of the Prophet are being in captive and treated this way, while your daughters, Yabna Tulaqa, are honored and protected. And this is how she exposed him. And our responsibility right now, even though we're not in the forefront, perhaps in the physical struggle between truth and falsehood that's going on right now, but at least we have the responsibility of jihad in the way of clarifying issues, which is called jihad al-tabyin, to be able to bring basira to the people, to be able to clarify issues with the people. But we can't clarify the issues to the people without first clarifying the issues with our own selves and our own family members. Our basira needs to be clear. So before we can clean the eye lenses of the other people to make them see things the way it should be seen, be able to see the truth, we should remove the fog on our own eyeglasses and be able to have our own basira. This is where our battle is right now, where our struggle is, that we have to step up to the plate, where there's so much falsehood in the media and clarify the issues in the proper way to ourselves, our families, and also those who are around us. But what can be expected from the one who has descended from those whose mouths chewed the livers of the purified ones, and whose flesh grows out of the blood of the martyrs? How can it be expected from the one who has looked at us, the Ahlul Bayt, with nothing other than grudge and animosity, and with despise and malice, would not hate us? So without remorse or feeling its gravity, you say what you say. And then she goes on and on. And we could spend hours talking about that speech and relate it to our current events. But where would we be without Syeda Zainab alayhi salam? Even if we can be inspired a little bit and take a bit from her courage, in her ability to speak truth to power. Let's not be scared. She wasn't scared, right? And she didn't just start screaming and saying stuff that doesn't make sense. No, don't be scared, but at the same time speak truth in an eloquent way, as Syeda Zainab alayhi salam, and you will see how that can shake the dominion and the kingdoms of these tyrants in every time and in every place. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.